Welcome, listeners, to today's episode of the Black Business Roundtable. I am fired up and ready to talk today, and what I mean is talk. I am your host, Doug Blacksher, broadcasting to you live from the city of diversity, and we're still trying to make it diverse, Oakland, California. I'm excited, as always, to share this podcast platform with my ride or die, my sister, my colleague, my friend, Dr. Ashley Coleman, Doctor of Psychology and our homegrown Bay Area work expert of all things mind, body, and for the soul. Dr. Ashley, always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you, Doug.
As always, thank you, Donnie Glover of BlackUSA.News network of podcast shows for the honor of the Black Business Roundtable, being a part of a growing network dedicated to bringing the real unfiltered news in Black America. Before being a part of this growing, unfiltered, and enlightening network and podcast, I was just as baffled as you are, wondering what is really going on in America, listening to mainstream media. We have some news as the candidate for mayor of Oakland, Ignacio de la Fuente. Apparently, he has his mayor campaign war chest of $310,000, and it is coming from none other. And once again, it's coming from none other than the coal arena. Now, quickly, coal is one of the toxic that has made our young people sick all across this country if it's the railroad through the community. Shame. So coal may be passing through a city near you in a hot damn minute if you vote for Ignacio de la Fuente. Shame. More on this later. Looks like Donald Trump is having a bad day. His latest request was rejected today by the Supreme Court of Florida documents case. Today, October 13th, as noted from the National Day Calendar, nationaldaycalendar.com, Meta-Statistic Breast Cancer Awareness Day. Focus on estimated 271,270 Americans diagnosed with this destructive cancer. Meta Breast Cancer Awareness Day, website nationaldaycalendar.com. And I'd like to also, my sister passed away this year, and her birthday was October 13th, born in 1961. So I'd like to take a second or two out and in memory of her. Lindora Blacksher, my sister, passed away at the age of 60 years old. Okay, moving forward, some current events in the news today. January 6th committee hearing resumed today. I hope you recorded it if you missed it. Social Security, the annual cost of living increase is significant due to inflation at 8.7%. And the way gas and groceries are going up and up and up, I'm sure that will help cushion some of our older people dealing with a set amount of money each month. So congratulations, President of the United States, my man, And the man who gave the Lifetime Achievement Award to Dr. Eric K. Kelly for his continuous work, Joe Biden. Thank you, President Joe Biden. So, this is good news for all those that receive Social Security, which is approximately 65 million people. Alex Jones messed with Sandy Hook, and he just got shook for $965 million. You can't run and you can't hide. Now put all that money you rake in on the, and this is sad to use that tragic situation. Once again, Alex Jones messed with Sandy Hook and he just got shook for $965 million, almost $1 billion. We do have justice in America still. God bless America. You can't run, you can't hide. Now put all that money you raked in on their sorrow to the side. Conspiracy theories instead of empathy. Shame, shame, shame. How you treated the grieving families of Sandy Hook. It's just, that Trump presidency for 4 years really brought out some of the most scoundrelous people in America. And now they're paying the price. Thank you for justice in America. You thought you could come for them, but in reality, they came for you. Remember that. Florida Republican little Marco Rubio, the one that Trump said, put your little tennis shoes on and scurry on up out of there, little Marco Rubio. Little Marco Rubio, did he skip out on debating my sister, Democratic rival, Val Demings? And audience, let's be clear. Val Demings is ready, once elected, to hit the ground running to resolve those issues that are tearing up Florida, especially after that Ian Florida hurricane down there. So Val, up here in California and Black USA News, we are rooting for you and promoting you on Black Business Roundtable. Seems the truth of the matter is a bit murky. However, the debate now seems to be October 18th. Okay, little Marco Rubio, take them little tennis shoes off and get ready for that whipping, not whooping, whipping that Val Demings is going to put on you. Go Val Demings, as little Marco Rubio will have your shoe tread all over his back and his head after this debate. We support Val Demings on the Black Business Roundtable. What did he say now? Hershel Walker has been spouting. He is Native American. Dr. Ashley, I thought he was a brother, but I could be wrong. He looked kind of like me, a Black man, but now he's a Native American. So the press went and talked to his mama. Well, she puts it a lot different. So apparently, his other daddy, Mr. Twice Impeached Trump, yes, Mr. Twice Impeached Trump is teaching him the art of the lie. And if anyone knows the art of the lie, Trump knows the art of the lie. 45. And he is getting an A on his assignment for sure. If you have any questions about Hershel, just ask his son, who seems to express his thoughts quite freely. Audience, before we get into the thumbs up and the thumbs down, you may notice a little something different about my appearance today. I've gotten a haircut. And the reason for the haircut, and I'm not going to get too long in this because I'm already over schedule, I want to be lean, mean, and Afro sheen as I take on the politics in Oakland and the mayor, Libby Schaaf. And we'll be discussing that further into the show today. This week's Black Business Roundtable thumbs up goes to Mr. Zenny Abrams, on Instagram at Zenny62 and website oaklandnewsnowblog.com. I came across his YouTube channel post and was floored. Audience, I was floored when I saw the heading as the title read, Lauren Taylor to make Mayor Shaft. Okay, I'm going to say it slowly. Lauren Taylor running for mayor of Oakland. He's council member in District 6. He wants to make Mayor Libby Shaft Oakland CAO. Chief Administrative Officer, if he is next Oakland's mayor. I ask no answer. By the way, Chief Administrative Officer stands for, once again, Chief Administrative Officer. That means she'll be running the city in that capacity. Lauren, it's time for you to go, my friend. It's time for you to go to even entertain that. Thanks for putting, Dr. Ashley. And if you notice on my Facebook, I said we'll have another 8 years, and this is how, before he's even elected, this is how we're starting. Thank you for putting this out there, that this was even a hush consideration. It did get us thinking about what the current mayor, Libby, may do next after she terms out November 8th, to stick it to Oaklanders again for another 8 years, running through Lauren Taylor, council member of District 6. Stay tuned, as surely we will know soon. Vote, vote, vote. Maybe since she enjoys fighting for a few millionaires and billionaires instead of the entire population of Oakland, she might join one of their teams. Once again, vote, vote, vote. YouTube link should be at the bottom of the screen coming up. And thank you, Vinny Abram, for posting that and bringing us into light of what Mayor Libby Shaft is planning to do to control Oakland and only look out for a few people. Also note that as of this show, there has been an update by Mr. Zenny Abrams per Lauren Taylor, which texts him back with not even no consideration. Well, his close ties to Libby, we shall see. This week's thumbs down goes to Governor Greg Abbott, whom insisted that rapists would be eliminated from the streets of Texas if we remember that right. Well, how is that working for those of you living in Texas? Have all your rape kits been processed yet? Which could help rapists off the streets today, right now, thereby eliminating them being able to reoffend. Have rape reports increased or decreased in Texas since this statement regarding rapists? Apparently, his state of Texas, out of the entire country, has the most offenses of rape. Shame, 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 Texas. Rapists are going to continue to rape if there are no consequences, right? As of Bobo the as of Bobo the Clown, or Boo Boo the Clown, as we call it in Black America, who's that people? Texans, vote better and vote reproductive freedom over your damn party. Hopefully, the women of Texas kicks this man right out of his butt. Wow, Texas, let's get it together. In case you missed it, watch the HBO documentary, which discussed on our previous 1-hour podcast, June 30th, 2022, with Dr. Ashley Coleman. And Dr. Ashley, I saw that. You and my sister, Dr. Elizabeth Burke, you guys knocked it out of the park.
Oh, thank you, Doug.
Oh, my God. June 30th, 2022, with Dr. Ashley and her colleague, Dr. Elizabeth Burke. The link is in our show bio today in case you missed it, or Google June 30th, 2022, Doug Blacksher. That's 6-30-2022, Doug Blacksher, Dr. Ashley, and Elizabeth Burke, link on YouTube. Remember, if you are going to act like a clown, the Black Business Roundtable is going to thumbs you down. I like that one. Boy, our producer is amazing. Today's show highlight. Today we are speaking with returning guest Barack D. Obama Shaw, running for mayor of Alameda, and a whole lot of discussion on other topics facing Oakland today. So let's get on the good foot. And I do mean on the good foot, with my ride or die, my sister, my friend, my colleague, and the woman who makes this show one of the number one shows on BlackUSA.News Network. As we give you the scoop from Oakland, right here on the Black Business Roundtable, October 13th, 2022. Dr. Ashley, my co-host and show guests today include weekly check-in. Once again, another introduction. Tenured and immediate past department chair, assistant professor of psychology at University of the West. Welcome back, Dr. Ashley.
Thank you, Doug.
Barack D. Obama Shaw, campaigning to become mayor of Alameda, California. His website is pricelesspolitics.com. We look forward to hearing the latest tea leaves coming from Alameda. Now for the national political highlights. Young people help those that are older be sure they receive their ballots, and if not, get them assistance for a replacement ballot. Help our older generations if they need assistance, and if you are already going to the polls, see if the senior needs a ride. Once again, if you know senior citizens that don't have card, give them a ride to the poll and take them maybe buy lunch if your pocketbook will allow. If a senior needs a ride, especially those that are disabled and don't have their own transportation, we are rooting for Democratic Georgia candidate, my brother, friend of the show, Market Flowers. Also from Georgia, Senate Raphael Warnock. Also from Georgia, Stacey Abrams, hashtag one Georgia, and that's ONE Georgia. And also to Florida candidate, my sister, Val Demings, for running in their prospective race. Give the gift of paying it forward. Register to vote and help your community this year and into the future. Go vote. And Instagram, my brother and friend of the show, at Marcus 4 Georgia, and that's that's the numeral 4, Marcus 4 Georgia, or his website is marcus4georgia.com, and 4 is FOR. And hashtag, I love this, let's send Congress flowers. Can't forget that, folks. Instagram at Raphael Warnock, or his website, Warnock 4, and that's FOR Georgia.com. Hashtag Warnock for Senate, and the 4 is FOR. Instagram at Stacey Abrams, or her website, StaceyAbrams.com. Her hashtag is Stacey Abrams. And last but definitely not least, my sister out of Florida, Sunshine State, Val Demings, or ValDemings.com, and her hashtag is Val Demings. And now, dun 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 dun, what a jump! And now the news for the day. Our friend, Dr. Ashley, please take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. And I want to acknowledge I like your haircut, and I also want to acknowledge your late sister and being here in the midst. And we know that typically, as human beings, we show up in many different contexts, and we just want to acknowledge that. So, in the news of the day, again, courtesy of the Equal Justice Initiative, their daily calendar that can be reached by visiting calendar.eji.org. On October 13th, 1920, the Black community in Roxborough, North Carolina, were required to leave or face racial violence. So, members of the Black community in Roxborough, North Carolina, were terrorized by an ongoing campaign from a white lynch mob threatening them to leave their homes or face racial violence. And so in July of 1920, a mob of local white residents seized an innocent Black farm worker, Mr. Ed Roach, from the Person County Jail where he was being held for the alleged assault of a white girl. And in broad daylight, the mob took Mr. Roach to the churchyard and hung him from a tree and riddled his body with bullets. And then the days after the lynching, Mr. Roach's employer signed a written statement affirming Mr. Roach's innocence, stating that he had been working with him when the crime occurred. No one was responsible or held accountable for his death. And again, after the lynching of Mr. Roach, an innocent man, the further terrorizing occurred of the Black community. And this self-identified, quote, Person County mob claimed credit for the lynching and began distributing letters and threatening death, bombing, and other acts of violence in an attempt to drive the Black community out of Person County. And so this occurred in the early weeks of October and continued. The letters had language such as leave town or face a similar fate to that suffered by Ed Roach. And again, for weeks, letters were sent throughout the community. And there's just a quick account of an older Black woman who lived in a predominantly white area of the county, reported receiving a letter telling her to move from her home within 1 week or face violence. She refused to move, and sticks of dynamite were detonated at her home while she was in it, blowing out the windows and doors of her home. She survived, but inevitably did move for her safety. And so here we talk a lot about gentrification, but in this situation too, we have to think about that being a leaf on the tree of redlining and other illegal and discriminatory practices when we talk about safety of housing. And so, Doug, I know today we're going to do something. We're going to switch. Today is flexibility. So when we show up and being flexible, our guest is ready. So we're going to flip it. So I'm going to hold my thoughts. I look forward to talking about last week I talked about depression. This week I'm going to talk about anxiety, but hold my comments for later in the show so we can bring our guest on.
We would like to welcome, and I'll say welcome back to the Black Business Roundtable, friend of the show, the man with the unforgettable. So when you go to the polls, audience, you will not forget this man's name, and a very easy on your ears, Mr. Barack D. Obama Shaw. Let's catch up on his campaign for mayor of Alameda, California. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you. It's great to be back. Absolutely.
Dr. Ashley, can you shoot off the first question? Because, oh man, he got his tie on. See, now you're looking like the mayor. We know you're going to win this campaign. I heard our producers saw you in Alameda at a big event. Dr. Ashley, go ahead and fire off the first question, because I'm looking at the next elected mayor of Alameda, California. Looking great, sir.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back, Barack. So I get to make an announcement before we start off with the questions, but the ballots have been mailed and early voting started last week. So if you want to end the status quo and bring about incorporating the community into the decisions of the city, and someone that is asking the community to use their voices, call on Obama. Check him out on his website so he can earn your vote this November 8th. So again, that's our announcement. Vote, vote, vote. Doug, let's get the conversation started.
Mr. Barack D. Obama Shaw, you attended the first Alameda, California Pride Weekend this past week. The food trucks, the vendors, and entertainment really made the event. What did you think of this first ever, and you know, Alameda is learning to be a little more progressive.
Mm-hmm.
First ever in your hometown, and what would you say was one of the highlights of this event? First ever. Thank you, sir.
All right. Well, I would say, as the performers were, I think one of the highlights was on that Friday night, to kind of like going to the opening event and hearing the performers, hearing their testimonies and how they're sharing how things have changed. They look out and see the young people and they're like, share little comparisons of what their life was and, what's available now. And then, of course, at the same time, they'll end it by saying, well, we've made some changes, but we still got a long way to go, that kind of thing. But to hear their gratitude of how far we've come, and we got a chance to experience it, their performing and their joy, joy for being alive and being what they see as their true self-expression. It was great. It's really great to see people be free, and just free to be themselves. So I think everyone deserves that, especially in America. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Everyone deserves that.
Dr. Ashley, please.
Yeah, how groundbreaking. I'm just thinking about just what the echoes of that experience may be for Alameda and going forward. And looking ahead, Barack, are there any future events that you can share with us that you'll be attending or that our listeners can support you and follow along?
Well, this Saturday, I'll be at the Mastic Center, and that is of Santa Clara, and it's going to be from 2 to 4. So that's a live question and answer situation, which is going to be really great because everything I've been doing so far, it's been from the Zoom format. So it'd be great to just be in that live feel. Yeah, it'd be great.
We have a little bit of time, but I want to shoot off a question and really a statement. But Alameda, just a little more than 40 or 50 years ago, African American and Black people would not and should not be caught in Alameda after sundown. How do you feel being, I'm giving you the title before you even got it, but I think you have a very good shot, sir. But how would you feel being the first elected African American as mayor of this city, given their history of, first off, not being progressive with all people and being the mayor to usher in new opportunities for all Americans, versus whether you Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, them, they, LGBTQT plus, how would that make you feel? And most importantly, how would you open up the government that would allow more inclusion for the entire residents and constituents in Alameda? Thank you, sir.
Okay. Well, the first, I mean, I'd be elated to win, and it's kind of like I'm two-headed about it. I'd be excited, and at the same time, it'd be like, well, yeah, this is supposed to happen. And in America, you know, I'm an American. This is supposed to happen. You know, things like this are supposed to happen. You know, opportunities. I went for the opportunity. I gave people the opportunity to vote, and this is supposed to happen. And so I'm saying that to bring in a state of expectancy. Mm-hmm. You know, so when we start expecting great things to happen, we'll take more actions. Make sense? So if we're just hoping and pray, oh, I wonder if this thing is, we're not going to take the actions. But if we come with, you know, being, you know, humble and everything, come with a state of expectancy, then we'll go for more things in life. We're like, oh, you want? Like, yeah, I figured I would. You know, oh, you got the first prize. Oh, yeah, I kind of, you know, saw that I would get first or second. I kind of saw that, and people would participate in more opportunities when we have a state of expectancy. So I'd be excited and at the same time have a state of expectancy there, and not stopping there, but just continuing to and then bringing other people, say, being the inclusion. I like to have. Like what we used to do, we used to go to the school and go to the gym, and everybody would be there. You know, like a big program, the whole community's there. You get to see successful businesses come in. And you had the career day. When I first was around a police officer for the first time, I'm like, wait a minute, they seem okay. He seemed okay, right? But that was just enough for me to get that something's possible here beyond television, or beyond what my cousins have said and other people, that there's you know, people are people, and we have an opportunity to bring things together once we can have the intention of communicating. So that's what I would like to do, have community programs where we're all together. And we can Zoom things too, but to where people can be around people in almost like a congregational format, congregation of humanity, you know, and then things would really, really grow and people would really get that they belong.
You know, before Dr. Ashley asks you a question, or if she has a comment on that, as a Black man who's lived in the Bay Area, specifically Oakland, Alameda County, that statement resonates in my brain and in my mind, because whether you lived in Oakland or Richmond, there are certain cities back in the 70s that you were not allowed to be in after dark. And to my producer said, she put a note in there, we asked that question, but I wanted our audience to understand how important it is for not this county, but the state, but this country to move forward with all people working together and not being afraid of being in a certain city or county after dark and coming out alive or beaten and thrown in jail. And in 50 years, we've come a long way, and we have a long way to go. And just before Dr. Ashley asked the next question, Dr. Ashley, and the young people now, audience, they're different than we were. Well, Dr. Ashley, she's a young person, so she can comment on that. Mm-hmm. But young people now are fearless. They, you know, when my dad said, or my mom said, be out of town before sundown, I knew what that meant. But young people now say, man, what they going to do to me? So, Dr. Ashley, can you give us your psychological expert advice of how to talk to our young people and explain to them it was that way. In certain areas, it still kind of is that way. So what would you tell a parent to tell their 10 and 15-year-old kids who said, man, I'm this is different. You old. I'm not taking no whooping from no police, and they can't tell me where to go. This is America. What can you teach and tell our audience how to articulate that you have to understand that there is a survival mode? And you've said that, so I'm using it. I'm hanging around with the
Yeah.
ass. There's a survival state of mind that we
Yeah.
have to teach our kids to be in. Thank you, Dr. Ashley.
No, thank you both. And I was thinking about that and hearing you talk about sundown towns. And every week we acknowledge the Equal Justice Initiative that provides history, but it's recent history. And sometimes the idea is that sundown towns are in the South and that stuff doesn't happen in California. We know that unfortunately it still does. And so what I liked what Barack said is that not just the expectancy of being selected for a position in which he is qualified, but also the expectancy that things can change. And so what I would say to a parent is that tell your story, give your child the very transparent truth about experiences and how to be safe, how to have things ready. Now you can call through your car if you're stopped and having someone, call a parent. There are different safety facts. I think it depends on parent to parent, but my parents were very intentional about teaching me history and being very open and honest about human nature and what that can mean, and practicing how to remain safe, how to survive the moment, and knowing that I have backup and that it's not always in that one moment where you fight. There are other ways that you can fight for justice, surviving the moment, coming back, attorneys, parental support, community outcries, activism growing up in Oakland. So I would tell parents, it is hard for youth. They're videotaping now. Thank God they are. Thank God they're videotaping. And can we bridge that gap so that there can be more exposure and interaction and have more conversations? And so, that I too think with more exposure, there can be opportunities to advocate for, closing that gap between law enforcement and the community.
Dr. Ashley, do you have anything for our special guest, Mr. Barack D. Obama Shaw? Audience, this man is running for the mayor of Alameda, California. Thank you.
Yeah, so before I do, we want to make sure and just clarify that Barack, if you are elected, you'll be the first elected African-American man in that position. Our producer wants to make sure we get that correct. And Doug, again, your comments even more so ring home about the significance of Barack assuming that role. So,
and can I?
Oh, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Can I want to say one thing about something I learned as a Black man in America. If I'm, when I was just driving around, I could be in Texas or driving to different states or whatever, and then you hear the woo woo woo. It's like, oh boy, pull over to the side, and then you have this. It feels like you're in a stadium with them gigantic lights on you. And you see a shadow walking up to the car, right? It's like, oh boy, every movie that you've ever seen flashes in front of your eyes, right? Mm-hmm. But I remember how, like, I'm innocent. I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything, So, and it just really occurred to me that instead of, because I think a lot of people get in trouble. What do you want? What do you get the attitude? What do you want? They know they hadn't done anything. So what I learned to do is let them figure out I hadn't done anything. Right. I already know I hadn't done anything, but I'm going to give them time to figure it out. I hadn't done anything. I'm innocent and I'm just driving through, or, I might need to fix a tail light or whatever. You never know. Sometimes those tail lights will get you. But I let them figure it out. And if I have a good attitude about it, chances are not too much is going to happen to me with everybody else reacting to them. And then here's the one person that's like, okay, yeah, whatever you say. Yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, I got it, officer. Yeah, here's my license. Yes, I'm right here. And just be calm. And things just, okay, well, you need to fix that tail light. Okay, all right, well, have a good day. And things started going like that. When I was younger, I had a little attitude, and I got the ticket. Now, I could have got more than that, but I learned that people, they have faith. Like I said, expectancy. Because we get what we expect. We expecting a terrible outcome. We don't want to bring that in there. Since you have to deal with it. Right. You can't avoid that authority. There's nowhere you can go to where I'm just going to avoid police for the rest of my life. You can't do it. So since it's a part of your life, our lives, we might as well take the high road and be optimistic about it. And it's a much more pleasant experience. As a matter of fact, one police officer, I was so comfortable with them. He said, I was trying to get my license out of my wallet. I just gave him the whole wallet, and he went back to the things that everything checked out. I looked over at him. I said, "Is my money still in here?" And I said, "Just messing with you." And I went on, but I was comfortable enough because they had already figured out. I'm not the guy. I'm not who they're looking for or whatever. And they we went on our merry way. And so I just think to have that, to not live in fear, because to live in fear doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So it just doesn't work. So we got to keep the faith and have a positive expectancy and respect authority. And if someone is still bad with you anyway, then take a few notes and deal with it in the courtroom or something. Deal with it there, because that's the turf that balances it out. It's not balanced when you're out in the street 2 a.m. in the morning. Mm-hmm. It ain't balanced then. It ain't time.
Wise words, Barack. And also I want to note that the powerless are the ones that have to come up with strategies in many ways to try to influence the outcome. And in my almost 20 years of working with people, I wish there was a sure thing, but there is not. We have, yeah. And so I want to acknowledge that, and also acknowledge the other part that as Black people and in sometimes places of not having that power, we are often the ones burdened with, I hope this person does their part. I'm at that mercy. Let me do what I can to influence this outcome. And so I agree with you, the expectancy. But I know that young people, just so you know, when we talk about trauma, sometimes with older people, it's almost like the messaging that happens with women. These are the ways you don't get raped versus let's teach people not to rape, right? Yeah. So keep yourself safe, but also let's teach people to ask about consent. Let's teach people to not. So the both and conversations, lock your doors, do all these things. And then also the people that can we also teach people to respect boundaries? But I do appreciate this conversation because I think this is in the nuances of the discourse is where we can hear both sides and figure out how to keep both parties safe.
Yes, exactly. And no matter what, no matter what happens, I'm not the victim. Mm-hmm. Period. Mm-hmm. Now, you might be victimized, but I'm not the victim. I take responsibilities for whatever happened to me. Now, but if something does happen to me, I want justice. I'm going to get that done. Right. Mm-hmm. But, I always take the attitude that, I'm responsible for my life and what happens to me when I walk out those doors, and whatever comes my way, and you know, it keeps me at an even keel to not have animosity about, you know, everything that happens. So, you know, seeing someone at a different race and, oh, he's like this guy. So no, I you know, that you know, that perspective has you know, has carried me to continue to move forward and to ask the questions, to go to the police officers and to their bosses and get things straightened out and find out myself. And so, you know, I always encourage people to, you know, take that approach toward it, because otherwise, you know, when I was walking around or driving around being a victim, you know, like something is going to happen to me, you know, I might as well have stayed home, because I'm shaking, you know, shaking like a leaf, and nobody's around me, but you know, I can't enjoy my life like that, waiting, you know, they're going to get me. They're going to get me. My whole thing was, it used to be, well, I'm just trying to stay out of trouble. What kind of context is that for life? How you doing? I'm just trying to stay out of trouble, man. That was my context for about 15 years. So it's kind of like you're dancing with someone and you're thinking, like, I don't want to step on their toes. Well, how comfortable dancing are you going to be? Even though you don't step on their toes, it's an uncomfortable experience. So, yeah, just a few thoughts about that. You know, that just let, you know, and this, this some of my life lessons.
Audience, this is why the Black Business Roundtable is the #1 show, or one of the #1 shows on the Donnie Glover Black USA News / Be More News podcast network of shows. We let our running officials for elected positions feel comfortable and articulate who they are. Because as somebody always told me, and I believe it was my mother and my father, if they tell you who they are, believe them. Mr. Barack D. Obama Shaw, you have told us who you are over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and we believe you. Thank you for coming on the show today. As we wrap up this interview, we will see you again. And Dr. Ashley, thank you for articulating to our young people how to stay alive. Because, audience, our kids now, they're not taking what we took, and they're not running. They're not running from the police. They're running to the police. And we always want is our kids to come home and be alive. My daughter went to Alameda, St. Joe in Alameda, and I used to tell her, baby, you know, be home before dark. Call me if you're leaving late, etc., etc., etc. As we move forward, Dr. Ashley, did you want to ask another question before we let Mr. Barack be?
Yeah, well, we actually have a few more questions.
Oh,
yeah,
let's let them fly.
But no, thank you for that. Quickly, before we acknowledge our sponsor, though, so Barack, we know that you've been highlighting your platform across different shows, as Doug mentioned. We wanted to ask about a little bit more about your solution to homelessness. So thinking of the unhoused community, you talked about the heart of the issue is with each individual finding out what happened or learning more about that individual's story of how they ended up unhoused. Can you expand a little bit more about that for our audience?
Well, you know, just to, you know, check in with them and ask some questions of, you know, hi, how are you? Not to just say, oh, this is a homeless person, you know, and stereotype them, you know, like I know your situation. No, you don't. You know, talk to the people and find out what is their situation? How did they get here? How long have they been here? You know, some people who have been there a shorter period of time, it's, you know, you can move, you know, things faster because they hadn't been out there as long. right? Because they can, it's like, okay, it's time to get back, they start to get back on the right road because they hadn't been out that long. But someone that's been out there for years and years, it's about really taking the time and having possibly a series of interviews with them to get to the heart of the matter of what got them in that position. What was their life like? How was life for them? Is it, because of drugs? But what led to that? To find out exactly what happened, because once we can, I say, my thing is, instead of creating something, writing on the chalkboard, make sure we clean the chalkboard first. Right? So we're just going to try to put, no. Wipe the chalkboard clear. And before we start putting all of these outcomes and all of these outlines, it's not going to make any sense, because that person is this filled up chalkboard and you got all of this stuff for their life. It ain't going to match. They ain't going to understand. They ain't going to get it. But once you can get them clear about their situation, you're like, man, I haven't thought about that in years, how I got here. I haven't thought about, nobody's asked me. Let me think for a minute. Might take them 25, 30 minutes to figure out what life was, maybe a day to figure out, because they've been so much into the survival mode, so now they can get a sense of that mental block, those things that we don't see, get those things out of the way, and then they could like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened, and this is okay. And then you can start getting a picture of what's wanted and needed with them, and get them to assist you. Like, if we could get this situation for you and this situation for you, how would you feel if we could, oh man, if you could, that'd be amazing. If I could, you can fix this particular situation and that particular situation, I wouldn't have to worry about anything. Yeah, I could get back to normal, but those types of steps need to happen instead of, okay, here's a place to stay. Here's some money. Here's some food. Bye.
Right.
That's what they're doing. That's what our mayor in Oakland is doing. $70 million of homeless relief money came through this city. And the mayor of Oakland has no idea where this money is. And the homeless population has increased 130% in the city of Oakland after being given $70 million. So I'm glad to hear you and our neighboring city understands that when you get money to help people, help the people.
Yeah.
Use that money to help the people.
Yeah.
Dr. Ashley, can you take us to a quick break so we can immediately get back here to this candidate who's running for the mayor of Alameda, California, and could possibly give us some tips on how to elect our next mayor in Oakland to have this same type of mindset, helping people. When you're running for office, is not to enrich a few millionaires and billionaires, is to take care of your constituents. Thank you, Mr. Barack D. Obama Shaw. Dr. Ashley, please take it away.
Sure. So thank you again, Mr. Donnie Glover of BlackUSA.News. Listeners, be sure to tune into our sister shows, Chap and Friends on Mondays, Party Marty Let's Talk, and Titillating Tuesdays. There's Black USA Crypto News with Kamal Hubbard on Fridays. There's also, we have the Blackout Live on Saturdays with Tajmir. We also have a wonderful show again with Sister Kwanda. We had her on last week. And then Sundays, we have 60 Minutes in Black USA with Michael Haney. If you're interested in joining our advertisement family or being considered to be a guest on our show, please send us an email to BBRT2021@hotmail.com. In your email, please include the details of your business, also include or embed any social media links to be considered. Also, we have joined Doug Blacksher, Jean Blacksher, Billy Thomason to meet Oakland District 4 Council President and mayoral candidate Shane Tao on Friday, October 14th. I'm always missing it. I gotta come up there on October 14th from 6 to 7:30. You must RSVP, and was it Sheng, SHENGFOR, Oakland.com. Also, Elisa Victory, Oakland mayoral candidate. Ballots are hitting Oakland mailboxes soon. Vote Victory Villanueva #1, and she's listed as #7 on the ballot. You may remember her as being a friend of our show. And also, there's a birthday ballot bash. Again, all these events coming up October 15th at 6 p.m. So to RSVP, please visit the website Victory FOR Oakland and click on events and follow the links to sign up to attend. And also, congratulations to Janani Ramachandran on her latest endorsement by Secretary of State Fiona Ma. So also visit more about her platform, JananiFOROakland.com. Now, Barack, I get to ask you the last question before I kick it over to Doug. Another issue that is, I'm biased. I come from a line of educators. And so we know in this pandemic, many people have come to grow an appreciation for teachers. And you've mentioned that you want to implement a pay raise for school teachers. Can you tell us more about your ideas of how to turn this into a reality?
Well, the first thing is start talking about it, right? And the mayor is not directly linked to the school board in that sense. However, I can be creative about how we raise funds and bringing partners together for, of course, an understatement, a worthy situation, and then just open up the conversation even more for the school teachers and just have people to really honestly look within themselves and do something about it. Like, here's the opportunity. Here's, we can have a series of events. We can talk to different corporations. We can get it done. It's just a matter of where there's a will, there's a way. And of course, with, having the position of mayor, folks will listen a little bit more, right, about the situations. And everyone has, I'm sure, at least one school teacher that made a difference in their life. So that shouldn't be a tough sell at all. That shouldn't be tough at all.
That's the type of progressiveness we need for our mayor, our people who are running to be elected, looking out for, and once again, we undervalue our teachers all across America. We undervalue our teachers all across. We have, for example, in the city of Oakland, administrators in the mayor's office who are making 6-digit figures a year. And look at Oakland, crime, grind, blight, etc. But we want to pay our teachers, who we want to entrust our kids with every day, crumbs. So kudos to you. And audience, this is why we need to seriously consider this man as the next mayor of Alameda, because that's a progressive move that you just said, reaching out to companies, having them participate in helping to increase the salaries of those hardworking educators in our local schools in America. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. And can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'm coming to Oakland now. So don't think I'm just staying over here in Alameda. Oakland is our sister city. So, you guys have any type of events you're setting up, and I'm coming, and I'm coming ready to inspire people, to educate people, and just have people in action about their life. And I think when you're around people who are progressive, it gets contagious. You get that fire, it gets contagious, and to let people know that all things are possible. Just believe, take those actions, and be around people that have your back, that are listening for your greatness. Everything is possible.
Let's ask you another question. Let's move to another avenue that I think you might have some great advice. And if you are elected mayor, you also participate in the Bike Walk Alameda, BWA, and Community Action for a Sustainable Alameda Mayoral Candidate Forum. The link is down below. It should be coming up pretty soon. Tell us a little bit about that to our audience so that they can understand what that means and what your plans to initiate that is. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so it was really exciting to be a part of it, and to look at the pollution. How many cars are on the road, and the impact on the environment, and just looking for creative ways so we can still, because people are going to continue to drive the cars. You can't stop people from driving their cars, right? So, but to create, have creative ways and incentives to have it all work, because we still have to protect our planet and breathe clean air around here. So, and the thing that that I had mentioned was we really want to get in touch with the people to see what works, and I also have this idea contest that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be looking at who has the great ideas, and bringing people together to like just really look at the things we're considering. Because I'm as I shared, I said I don't know it, I don't know everything. I have some great ideas, but I'm not attached to those ideas. I'm committed to what would work, and anyone that want to bring something to the table that would move the conversation forward for climate change and these different initiatives, I'm definitely all for it. And so it was a wonderful experience, and I look forward to partnering up with them in the future.
Let's first address the initial question from the moderator, which was, why you did not respond to the written communication questionnaire to be returned prior to the forum. You had a very honest answer, I thought. Please share with our audience so we can clear the air regarding the question posed by moderator from BWA, Denise Trop N-E. Thank you, sir.
Well, it's simple. I didn't receive it. So, I was kind of surprised. I'm like, I didn't answer those questions. Oh, well, someone could have called me to make sure that I answered the questions before I showed up. I would have, but had I known there was some questions there, and that was, basically the answer to that. And I said, send it to me now, or send it next day, or what have you. Get it to me, and I'll be happy to answer those questions.
Dr. Ashley, please.
Yes, you were also asked the question about personal transportation. So personal transportation is the largest single source of carbon emissions in California and the Bay Area. And the largest share of transportation emissions come from single occupancy vehicles. What do you see as the quickest and most cost-effective way to achieve a substantial reduction in transportation-related GHG emissions?
The most cost-effective and simplest is catch the bus. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just simple as that. The buses are, they're very clean. I've always had a great experience on the buses. I've ridden buses from different cities. These buses, well, the ones I've been riding around here don't rattle, like they used to. And it's it's a pleasant experience. Just walk, get you some exercise, walk, catch the bus, and have your own private chauffeur. Have a context around it that works for you, and then you could read, study, get some homework done, or what have you. Make a couple of phone calls. Don't be too loud on the bus, right? And then just enjoy the experience and look around and see things that you wouldn't have seen, if you were driving.
Once you're elected mayor of Alameda, we're gonna hook you up with Rebecca Kaplan. She is putting together. I'm sure you've heard of her.
Mm-hmm.
She is working with the city and the county and the state for no emission buses traveling up and down our highway. So that was a great answer, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Fantastic.
An additional question was residential zoning.
Mm-hmm.
In the 2023 through 2031 housing element just approved by HCD, State Housing and Community Development Department, commits the city to rezone all residential neighborhoods, including single family to multifamily by January 31st, 2023. Do you support this rezoning, and would you support modifying and submitting a revised housing element to HCD maintaining single family zoning in some area of Alameda and increasing the number of homes permitted by zoning in other areas? Thank you, sir.
That's great. It's a very good question. And I will know when I get the job. Because I want to make sure that I know how much this is going to cost, right? What all of the components are with this, right? Because you only have so much of a budget, and we have so much land and things of that sort. So we want to look at all of the pros and cons of it and have the whole team here, because I could tell you how I feel about something, right? And how I feel is not necessarily reality. I could feel really comfortable in my room right now. I could feel really comfortable out there right here. But when I can say it feels just like it feels in my room, but I open the door, I might need to put on a couple of jackets. See, my feelings can be off, not just from that short scenario, but from, to really look at the map of it, because a lot of it is, it's conceptual, the things that they're saying, but there's no concrete numbers attached to that. So, and that's one of the things that, as I'm going to be speaking at the Mastic Center, I'm going to be speaking about how this actually works. When you're running for political office, the only thing we really can, in reality, really do is give you an idea of who we are, our character, and how we will approach things, how how we reason and think about things. But otherwise, I'd be like a meteorologist, try to tell you what the weather is tomorrow. Partly cloudy, partly sunny, partly this, partly that, kind of this, kind of that. But to have that same meteorology background and try to tell you what's going to happen 2 months from now, no, I tell you how I'm going to be and how I'll approach it. And I think once we start to, people in political, these political scenarios, political office or running for political office, once we can communicate this way, people will hear what we're up to and what we're committed to, instead of I'm saying this and I'm, because they don't really know until you get in the office, because then they're listening. Oh, that's a promise you made to me. Well, he can't really for sure tell you exactly what he's going to do or what exactly she's going to do till she gets the job.
Before you ask the next question, Dr. Ashley, audience, listen to this man here. Mm-hmm. If nothing else, I believe you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Dr. Ashley, please.
Absolutely. So another question pertained to ranked choice voting. And again, audience, you may remember we've used that term before. Just as a refresher, ranked choice voting is a voting method used by surrounding cities to achieve more representative government. And so as an elected official, Barack, would you be willing to vote in support of putting ranked choice voting measure on the ballot so that voters can decide about this election reform?
No, I spoke about it on a couple of times with different platforms. I'm for really. I would like to see how this thing works, because it's for me it's conceptual right now. They tell you kind of how it works or what have you, but we still want to keep in mind the climate of votes. These days, and the distrust in the voting system. So that's there. It's there, right? If a person loses, did he really lose? All of this stuff is going on. So I want to make sure we're clear about how this thing really works, and really looking at the advantages of having it here. And I think, they said demographics could change or what have you. Well, it's probably not going to change too much for me, it's just probably not. So, I just, right now, just going to have to trust that, humanity will rise to the occasion. We're all human beings, and possibly some of the things I'm saying are resonating with people, and go from there.
Yeah, thank you. Doug, to you, because Brock already jumped ahead.
Electrification. Electrification plays an important role in mitigating the effects of the climate crisis. What more can Alameda do to promote electric vehicle adoption equitably across all demographics? How can Alameda more charging options for multifamily residents and others that may lack access to home charging and unlock funding provided by the California Energy Commission and others? And more importantly, what more can be done to encourage residents to electrify their homes? Thank you, sir.
Well, electrifying the home is one thing, right? But the getting an electric vehicle and that salt water gets in that battery, right, you're gonna have some problems. You can forget about it, right? So you're done. So you forget about it. So that's a lot of money. $70,000, $80,000, $70,000, $80,000 for some of these cars. It's a lot of money. It's good, I think it's a nice piece of change, you could say there. So, so I would look at, the location and like I said, that salt water gets in on those batteries, you're gonna have a lot of problems. So and that's just kind of where it is from our location. So you can't control that water. That's it's a risk, I think.
Dr. Ashley, please.
You know, thinking, Barack, you've mentioned before about residents participating in their own neighborhood. We're curious a little bit more about what you specifically will do to improve street safety in Alameda. Who might be sources of guidance for you, and how might your decisions be informed by data?
Okay, great. So I would like to have like neighborhood watch, and also have a division that deals with traffic as well, right there, and just kind of have them working in partnership, and work with the police to see what their data is, and so we can be clear on what is we could do and what is, what can you do, what can you not do, what's going past the line or what have you. So people can be set up to win in terms of that. As far as the I think what's really great is to having some like mini briefings, to point out the different things, how people are walking with children. They may have 15, 20 kids, walking down the street on the sidewalk, and they have a certain way, bringing these things out to show people what safety looks like, the right way, the wrong way, and then also asking them to participate in certain situations to get them involved to see if they want to be a part of something. So that, I think that's important too, to let people know that we want you to participate. We want you to be a part of what it is that we're doing here. We value you. We value you. We value everybody. Come on, come all. Let's have a ball. Let's have fun. Let's enjoy one another.
What might make the city budget meeting more attractive to the public? She also asked, and this is when you were in debate, she also asked if you had any ideas to improve attendance at these meetings. Please share your response, because in Oakland, we have the same issue. Two things before you answer this question. The city must make the city council and the city meetings not in the middle of the day when the average working citizen has to go to work so they can't attend. And second, stop having all these closed door meetings, making decisions, and then coming back and telling us what you made. So with those 2 points made, can you answer that city budget meeting question regarding Alameda? Thank you, sir.
Okay. So yes, I think timing. I mentioned this on the I think it's the very first forum I was a part of. There's a book called The 4-Hour Work Week. And yes, 4 hours for the work in a week is amazing, right? So one of the things it talks about in the 4-Hour Work Week, it talks about a law that's called Parkinson's law. And what it is it says that the work will expand to fit the time you give it. And I gave an analogy of it. If it takes me 20 minutes to clean my room, and then I can say do it in 2 hours. But if I expand that time to 2 hours, it's going to be less efficient. Right. And that's what people try to give it more time. No, manage the time you have. Really manage the time you have. But if you give yourself a time frame, a target, and to do something, you will more than likely hit that target and maybe finish before the time. But if you just are lax with it and think more time is going to be sufficient, it's not. So that's what it is, to let people know, no, just here's how much time we're giving you, because whether you're speaking about your situation, everybody's situation is equals. One could be dealing with $1 billion situation. One can be dealing with a couple $100 situation. As far as they're concerned, hey, I want my time. So give every person their equal amount of time. And also, I think what we could do is have someone to make sure people are clear about what it is they want to talk about before they get up there. What's your situation? What do you want to talk about? Talk about boom, 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 boom. I want to say this. I want to say this. Okay, cut that out. Cut this out. So you really want to say this, this, and this. Okay, that's what you say. Go. Let's go. We got you. We're going to, you're ready. So that way they're not trying to, going through all of this stuff. Like, they're clear about what it is that they're talking about. They know how much time they have, and let them know that, hey, just like when I'm on the show, they let me know we're turning that mic off. If you want to continue to keep going, we're turning that. Okay, well, they're turning the mic off. That's my time. So I need to fit what it is that I want to fit in that time. And if I don't get a chance to say everything I want to say, then, hey, I need to prepare better next time, because everybody wants their time. That's how I would approach it.
Dr. Ashley, please.
Yeah, preparation, efficiency, and we've appreciated your time you shared with us. Barack, the last question is, please remind our listeners where you'll be this weekend for an opportunity to interact with you in person.
The Mastic Center here in Alameda, and it's going to be off Santa Clara. I don't have the exact address, but it's off Santa Clara, and it's going to be from 2 to 4.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We look forward to having you back soon to learn more about your platform and the events you're holding in the community.
And thank you guys for putting together this show, giving me a voice here, and listening to my thoughts here and there. I really appreciate you so much. And you guys are amazing.
I'd like to say this before you leave, is audience, this man's attitude, his character, his flow. We need more people like you running for office, because we have too many people running for office who are tyrants and putting tyranny on many of the constituents they're supposed to be helping. On that end, thank you very much. Great to have you here today. We'll see you soon. Thank you, sir. Mr. Barack B. Obama, folks. Barack B. Obama Shaw, running for mayor of Alameda, California. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Dr. Ashley, I so need your words of therapy. We're going to backtrack, and please, Dr. Ashley, can you take us away? Thank you, Dr. Ashley.
Absolutely. Again, greetings, listeners. I like how we switched it up today, Doug, too, and just talking about being solution focused and flexible. I want to talk about anxiety, and anxiety can be cognitive in the form of worried thoughts. It can be physiological as far as, and I'm going to talk about symptoms of panic attacks, but it usually involves fear about the future or the outcome of something. And when our anxiety, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being low anxiety, 10 being so high we can't stand it, when our anxiety gets to about a 6 or 7 or above, we're in what we call survival mode. We're no longer able to really access flexible thinking matters or solutions. We're typically in fight, flight, freeze, or freak out mode. So I thought today what I would do is just briefly review the symptoms of a panic attack, and then talk about a technique that can help to de-escalate anxiety. And so a panic attack is a cluster of physiological symptoms that can occur with panic disorder, which is a mental disorder about the fear of having panic attacks. But someone can also have depression with panic attacks, post-traumatic stress disorder with panic attacks, or other type of mental disorders with panic attacks. So what is that? A panic attack, panic, is an abrupt surge of anxiety that can occur when abrupt onset, when someone's feeling calm, and then all of a sudden they're feeling worried, or it can be gradual and then have an acute onset. This includes heart palpitations or accelerated heart rate, This is one of the causes for people to go to the emergency room, because sometimes people think with the heart palpitations and shortness of breath that they're having a heart attack. It is always okay to go to the emergency room if you're having those symptoms, but please don't be surprised if everything checks out with the cardiologist and with the test, and they start talking to you maybe about anxiety. Sweating, trembling or shaking, shortness of breath or feeling smothered, feeling as if you're choking, chest pain or discomfort, nausea, stomach queasiness, feeling dizzy, unsteady, lightheaded or faint, having chills or heat sensations, feeling numb or tingling, that's called periathesis, or derealization, having a sense of like, am I in reality? Or what we call depersonalization. Sometimes people feel detached for themselves or feel like they're watching themselves from a more aerial view. There can also be a fear of losing control or going crazy, and a fear of dying. And again, these are sudden symptoms that can cluster together, and they can last for a couple of minutes. And so what I want to do is now just let you know and introduce a technique that can help when we talk about grounding. And grounding, anxiety takes us up and away with our thoughts. And what we want to do is come back to the present moment, reminding ourselves that our thoughts, our fear, dying, that usually our thoughts are taking us away. And when we get our minds and bodies out of survival mode, we can actually be a little more resourceful. And we have an internal cooling system also. We have an autonomic nervous system and a paraautonomic nervous system. And in that, just like with our cars, we have a coolant system. So our hearts aren't going to overheat. It's going to cool. But I want to talk briefly, go over the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique, which can help you cool down. Just quickly, before I introduce that, one of the quickest ways to cool your body down is ice. Putting ice on your forehead or holding ice, because what it's going to do as the ice melts, your hands are naturally going to open up. Your body system, your breathing is going to cool down. So in addition to that, 5, looking for 5 things around you, anything in your environment when your heart is racing. So looking at pictures, looking at bike, looking at the fireplace, looking at the juice. When we fix ourselves on 5 things, we're starting to distract ourselves, but focus and bring our heart down. 4 things you can touch. So for me, it's the seat, touching. It can be the texture of a shirt. It could be the stress ball, feeling your legs, allowing yourself to feel your feet on the texture of the ground. 4 things you can touch. 3 things you can hear, okay, in your environment. For me, I'm hearing my voice. I'm hearing the fan. And if I could listen even closer, I'm sure I'd hear the neighbor's dog. But do you hear children laughing if you're outdoors? Can you hear the leaves? So again, the more intent you are with looking at your senses, your body temperature is slowing down. 2 things you can smell. And this is really important, audience, when you're thinking about what's in your coping toolkit. I'm huge about aromatherapy. So for me right now, 2 things I can smell. I can smell my perfume, which is soothing to me, but also a coconut milk mango scent of a candle. Why is smell important? Because for many people, when they've survived trauma, smells can be very evocative. It's usually the strongest sense that we have. And so carrying something that you smell, that's a pleasant smell, can be grounding and comforting. And then for number 1, it's actually what's one thing you can taste. Having a small bottle of water with you can be very, very soothing and grounding. So this is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. You may not be able to do all 5. Just being able to ground yourself in your environment, coping thoughts, I'm safe. And to close it out with just a practical example, we're transparent here at the Black Business Roundtable. We didn't start on time today. And guess what? We switched it up. Things don't always go as planned. It's how you respond, how you rebound, And it was a nice change of pace to kind of use this. And so with that, again, if we were, oh my gosh, we're late. What about this? What about that? We're behind. Sounds like we're going to switch things up today. And so again, when we're able to de-stress, we open our minds up to creative solutions and going with the flow. So I wanted to talk about anxiety. So as the seasons are changing, depression and anxiety are BFFs, they're best friends. So if you find yourself worrying, again, think maybe a little more grounding. Your environments, we talked about lights, adding in these things to smells, pleasant sounds. Sometimes if my mind is racing and I've had a hard clinical day, I play ocean sounds. If I can't get to the ocean, even though I'm not, I'll play ocean sounds and stream it. Very soothing. And get my mind spa-like sounds. For some people, they like hearing rain. We got rain in Southern California the other day. I slept like a baby, Doug. But even playing, rain sounds on your phone, anything to soothe you is going to be really important as we're going into, again, we're in the fourth quarter of the year, and we want to be proactive about preserving our mental health.
Dr. Ashley, that was so well stated, because as you said, we were running late today, but instead of coming in here frantic, we shifted.
We shifted.
Audience, everything in life is not scripted. Sometimes you have to make adjustments. Mm-hmm. And just as Dr. Ashley so eloquently stated, we made an adjustment and we are doing great. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to say, before we complete, Dr. Ashley, I have to plug, I forgot I didn't plug my computer.
It's okay. No worries.
Low battery life. And as you see, I didn't fall apart. I said, hold on, let me plug my.
If we didn't learn anything in the pandemic and working with technology, is that if there's anything that will challenge you to shift or to pivot, which is another favorite word now in the pandemic, is technology. Technology will humble you very, very quickly. And so, yes, keeping things plugged in. Excuse me, I need a moment. No problem. It happens. And we can rebound.
Well, audience, we're going to take the last few minutes of this show to talk about Oakland politics. And the reason for that is Oakland is at a crossroads. As you all can tell, I have a haircut today, which exemplifies my feelings moving forward. I want to get lean, mean, and become a fighting machine. One of the reasons why I was late today, Dr. Ashley, is because we have a mayoral election coming up that's going to determine whether Oakland is going to be run by a few millionaires and a few billionaires, or is Oakland going to be represented by the people, the hundreds of thousands of people who live in this city, thrive in this city, have decades of residency in this city, and businesses that are run, owned and operated by people who live in this city. Mm-hmm. We have rich people coming out of San Francisco paying off some of our local elected politicians who are running for mayor. Mm-hmm. One of is Lauren Taylor. I'm going to put it out there. And if these people continue to buy these elected politicians off, the constituents of this city are going to be further devastated and harmed by people who are supposed to be protecting us. We have, if you hear me talk, and I took my glasses off because Oakland should not be bought out and bought off by rich people. We have, over the last 8 years, an increase of homeless population of 130%. Businesses that have gone out because some of our elected politicians, starting with the mayor's office and one or two of the city council people are taking money from rich people, billionaires and millionaires, and forgetting about the people who make Oakland what it is and who it is.
Mm-hmm.
I am smitten by those, and when I say smitten, it takes a lot to get out there and run for office. Elisa Victory, she doesn't have a large war chest of money to compete against these well-funded and bought off and paid off mayoral candidate. Shane Tao. I've worked with Shane Tao for over 10 years, and when I call her regarding issues that affect businesses in this city, she gets right on it. I humbly and respectfully say that the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce, which I am a member of, the NAACP of Oakland, California, which I am a member of, and I'm a lifetime member of the National Association for the Advancement of Color People. But the Oakland branch of the NAACP and the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce, let's start with the NAACP Oakland branch. We have crime that is killing Black and brown boys and girls and young people in this city. We need to have more participation from the NAACP, rallies, going out to the communities. What are you doing? What is going on? We have people, when you can go to a junior high school, which I graduated from, and shoot 6 people and you don't see the NAACP, the local branch, that's disheartening and disturbing. Shame, shame, shame on you, Oakland branch of the NAACP. Second, the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce. And I'm a member, I'm a paid up member for the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce. We have the president of the chamber giving an award to the mayor. Yes, a special recognition award to the mayor of Oakland, who has done nothing for Black businesses in this city. What is going on here? And then we concern ourselves, and audience, that's why we have the number one show, because we aren't paid for this, are we, Dr. Ashley? We take our time out because we are concerned about the city that we were born and raised in, and we see it falling apart in front of our very eyes. I'm going to conclude this special note from Doug Blacksher by saying it is your responsibility to register and vote, and stop listening to these paid off, polished speaking politicians who are promising you everything and giving you nothing. Giving you nothing. And I say that because 8 years ago, when Mayor Libby Schaaf ran for mayor, she came to the NAACP and wooed us something you would not believe. And how's that working for Black and brown people in the city of Oakland, California? And this is not just for Oakland. This is for cities all across America. Stop looking at that shiny coin that these politicians are putting in your face saying, vote for me and I got you. And when they say vote for me, they got you. The gentrification plan that was started by then Mayor Jerry Brown, then became governor, has been furthered by Mayor Libby Schaaf. And I'll conclude by saying she will go to Washington, D.C. Kamala Harris, Vice President of the United States, was born here in the Bay Area, Oakland and Berkeley, grew up, went to school. Mayor Libby Schaaf will go to the vice president whose roots are here and ask for $500+ million for a rich white man to build a ballpark, but the homeless population, we have $70 million that is unaccountable. And homeless people, when I drive around here, Dr. Ashley, it is devastating. It is. And if you come back here, I hope you take a chance and just look at what $500 million would do, building homes, creating mental health care for those who are on the streets for whatever reason and needing that mental health care. So when you go out and vote, when you go out, audience, and cast your vote, look at what those politicians have done and continue to do or not do, and make your decision based on that. Because I say we are hurting here in Oakland, California. We are being devastated by crime. It's almost a shooting every other day here in Oakland right now.
Mm-hmm.
And our schools, our kids are scared. They're scared, audience, in Oakland, California. Parents are worried about sending their kids to school because of the shooting that just happened here 2 weeks ago. And the mayor of Oakland has not stepped up and stepped out and said anything. And it's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
And the most important thing, economics. We got the ILWU Local 10 here getting ready to be run out of town on a donkey for a billionaire to have a Howard Terminal ballpark that will devastate the transportation around that area. We had just 2 years ago, a man got hit by a train in front of Yoshi's in Jacqueline Square because the infrastructure will not facilitate having 50 to 100,000 people walking around where you got trains, ships, restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
So you put a ballpark down there and add another 50 to 100,000 people. What do you think the impact of that's going to be?
Mm-hmm.
I am ready to do battle against all those politicians who are selling us out. And that's what I will do. And that's what I've done. And that's what I will continue to do. Dr. Ashley, on that note, can you briefly give our audience what the mental impact for people who live in Oakland is going to be to see a mayor and a candidate that the mayor is backing, Lauren Taylor, and is going to hire the mayor of Oakland, who's going to be termed out to be the chief administrating officer when she gets out? That's the deal they made. She's going to be the chief administrating officer. So what is that telling our young people, how our politicians care about them and their future? Thank you.
Strong words, Doug, that I deeply appreciate. And I guess I'll use a trauma term because Oakland residents have been traumatized for some time by the violence. And now we're looking at learned helplessness and numbing. And there's this idea, there's no longer this expectancy, using Barack's term, for Oakland to be any different. And the trauma has gone on now for generations in cycles, that when you've been traumatized and been in the basement for so long, being on the second or third floor can feel like being on the penthouse. And so even though the trauma in Oakland isn't as bad as the crack epidemic in the 80s, it's still bad. So now we're juggling, again, this sense of, well, it's a little better, but Oakland needs an overhaul of someone who wants to come in and make Oakland the land of opportunity for all and inclusion, and stop this divide of class and resources. And we're sending a message to our youth that if we don't invest in them, like you said, this generation takes matters into their own hands. Oh.
I went on mute because, audience, this show is successful because we try to arm you mentally of how to deal with what's going on and how to mentally move us ahead. Dr. Ashley, wise words of wisdom. Thank you. And if you can get ready to close us out, we will wrap the show up today. We had an awesome conversation with Mr. Barack D. Obama Shaw. And thank you, audience, for listening to me give you my sincerest and my hope that you get out and vote for that politician who is for change, not for the status quo and the multimillionaires and billionaires who are paying off these running for mayor politicians to further the destruction here in Oakland, California. Thank you, Dr. Ashley. Please.
You're welcome. And again, Doug, I appreciate if one of the things our listeners know is that you love Oakland. So that's something that shines through and through. Again, listeners of the show, audience, we want to invite you to check out some social media pages that we support. So on Instagram, the handle is @millennial.democrats. This page calls out politics and politicians. And we also have our favorite law school student who delivers his experience from a Black man's perspective on Instagram. His handle is @TheMaskLawStudent. So thank you again, Mr. Donnie Glover of BlackUSA.News. Again, we have wonderful shows that, on this platform. Chap and Friends on Mondays, Titillating Tuesdays with Stacey Dennis, Party Marty Let's Talk as well on Tuesdays. Black USA Crypto News with Kamal Hubbard, the Blackout Live, 60 Minutes. That's just an abbreviated list. We have so much rich programming, so please check out the network. If you are interested in joining our advertisement family or being a possible guest on the show, please send us an email to bbrt2021@hotmail.com. In addition, Donnie Glover also hosts a number of shows as well. BlackUSA.News. Again, Data Malsis, that's on my list. Community Connections, Resources and Gardening, the Robert Report, Shared Space. Again, check in the programming, tune in and hear what our colleagues are saying. And also want to give you these hashtags of the stories that we're keeping at the forefront. We talked about the police earlier with Barack, and I appreciated his comments. But we also want to support hashtag Driving While Black, Michael Thrash, Taylor County TX. If you have not watched the episodes with him on the show, please do so. Here is a contributing citizen to society that was stopped, had money unlawfully taken, and it has a wonderful attorney who is advocating for his clients' rights. So we hope to get we have to check that out, try to get an update and see if they've gotten their just due and day in court. And then also hashtag Stand with Carlton of Raleigh, NC 2022. Feel free again to go back into our archives to hear more details about Carlton's story and how you can support if you feel led to. Doug?
Audience, thank you for joining us today. We had an outstanding show, and even though we ran a little bit late, learn from us. Don't fall apart. Let's stand together. We return next week with a chef. I'm not going to eat tonight and tomorrow. We return next week with a chef, and you don't want to miss this show and all the good eats that she prepares for us October 20th. We look forward to seeing you every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 7 p.m. East Coast Time on the BlackUSA.News network on YouTube and Facebook. Audience, thank you for tuning in. And remember, together, together, we can listen, we can learn, and we can share. Because I know you care. I know you care. This is Doug Blacksher and my ride or die, my keep me alive sister of psychology, Dr. Ashley Coleman of the Black Business Roundtable. God bless. Thank you for joining us tonight, and have a good night.